Brenda J. Lilly here with the Bridge Artistic Network. I wanted to put out a small disclaimer before we launch into today's video. I am not a licensed therapist. I am just a fellow creative artist who hopes to encourage, engage, and hopefully empower other creative artists to go out and live their art dream. Okay, here we go into today's video. I hope you enjoy it. Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. Brenda J. Lilly here with the Bridge Artistic Network, and it's time for a midweek chat. I hope you like this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, but also share it with everyone you know and love so that we can continue to become who we were created to be. All right, I will see you on the flip side. Happy Wednesday, July 1st. 2026. It is Wednesday afternoon, and it is time for a midweek chat with me, Brenda J. Lilly with the Bridge Artistic Network. So, I have a couple of things running around in my brain. On Monday night, my friend Barbie and I went to see the Doobie Brothers and Santana, a doubleheader. Um, in a word, amazing. The concert was fantastic. But what struck me about there were two things that struck me about this concert in a profound way as an artist. The first was watching Santana come out, Carlos Santana come out on stage for his set. And they were there, his band came out after the Doobie Brothers. And he literally sat down on a stool with his guitar, was chewing gum the entire time, and just played. And it was effortless for him. It was like, and I'm sure it wasn't, but he made it look effortless. He sat on a stool pretty much the entire time. When he did stand up, he mostly faced his band. He didn't even face the audience. He faced the audience like a couple of times, and he addressed the audience once towards the end of the concert. And that was a brilliant little 2-minute speech about sharing love with one another, mercy and compassion and joy um, and grace, and understanding that we are each a masterpiece. And I've said that so many times in my bridge artist circles, um, and with other artists and with just other people, that we have to understand that we're a masterpiece. And when we understand that each and every one of us is a masterpiece, then we understand how special each individual is and how needed we all are in this world. And that brings mercy and compassion, because we don't think of anyone as different or unnecessary or bad or wrong. We look at them for their value and their worth, because we are all pieces of gold. We are all masterpieces. So it was a great, so there's that, right? So again, I told you my brain was ruminating on all of this. It was there it was so good, right? There, but Barbie and I were shocked and amazed because we just sat there. I mean, Carlos Santana is 78 years old. He came out on stage, he sat down, and he played this set, and it was impeccable. The music was glorious, and it sent my brain on fire because I was just sucked in by his level of expertise, by his ease of performance, and just accepting how he does what he does. And he didn't make any bones about it. He didn't say, "Oh, I'm sitting down because my body hurts." He didn't make excuses. He just sat down and he played. And I loved that. And when he did stand up, he would turn to his band members and he would share himself with them, showing them respect and admiration and keeping the band together and being in a spirit of unity and timing, and so that they would know where he was going, because so much of it, I mean, I'm sure it was practice, but he practices, I mean, it really is so jazz oriented, and it's not jazz music, but it is so jazz oriented in its structuring. It was wild. It was wild. My brain was on fire listening to him. It was incredible. And then he said what he said at the end, towards the end of the concert. And I just thought, yeah, we are here on this planet to spend time together, to take care of one another, and to learn how to be who we were created to be. And this is a man at the age of 78. He has perfected his skills, his talents, and abilities. He doesn't have to apologize for anything. He doesn't have to make excuses for anything. He comes out, he does his gig, he blesses us with his music, and then he goes home. Job well done, Carlos Santana. Job well done. Doobie Brothers. Same, same, right? But if I were to pick one band to see again, it would be Carlos Santana's band. And I love the Doobie Brothers, so don't get me wrong, and no haters necessary, because I didn't even know Santana was going to be there. My friend said, "You want to go see the Doobie Brothers?" And I said, "Yes." And then, half hour before the concert, her husband actually said, "Oh, who's opening?" And she said, "Santana." And I went, "What?" I was like, "How did you not lead with that?" I love Santana. I've always loved Santana. I've always loved the Doobie Brothers, obviously, or I wouldn't have said yes to the concert. And her husband literally said, "Well, if you had said that to me, I probably would have been going with you." Anyway, it was just a glorious night of music, of artistry, of creativity, and it got my creativity and my creative juices like pushing, right, and just on fire. So I'm excited. Obviously, I am. I'm still talking about it 2 days later. Um, but then the other thing that happened, it was towards the end of his set, and you knew it was coming to a conclusion. They'd been playing for a while, and I just watched. There was still about 15 minutes of the concert left, because he hadn't even come to like the apex of the set yet. Never mind coming back for an encore, right? So he hadn't even gotten there. So I knew there were like at least three more songs in his kit bag. And I'm watching as hundreds of people just streaming out of the amphitheater. And I'm sitting there going, where are they going? They're missing it. Don't they understand? They're watching a legend play, and they're walking out before his bow. Where are you going? What's so important that you are missing this magic? That you are letting go of the blessing before its completion? What are you doing? Why are you so in a rush to get in your car and get on some freeway to get home? Like, how is 15 extra minutes of sleep going to help you in your day tomorrow? Well, maybe, but you knew where you were coming. So you're already going to be exhausted tomorrow. So suck it up, Sally, and stay the extra 15 minutes. But they just kept leaving. And then more and more people kept leaving. And I was shocked because this was perhaps one of the most spectacular nights of music I have been a part of in a very long time. And I could not believe that people were so, I don't want to say ignorant, but blinded by the push and shove of this world, that they're more concerned about not getting caught up in traffic at the end of the concert than they are just enjoying the moment. And so, two things. Do you not understand that this might be the last time you ever see this man play? He's 78 years old. He didn't look old to me on stage until he walked off stage. And he has trouble walking now. You just missed the last 5 songs of his set, and it might be the last time you ever get to see him live. What are you doing? What is pulling you to miss out on this incredible moment of artistry, creativity, and beauty? Is getting home 5 minutes earlier so important? Is not having to be in stop and start traffic so important? I literally stayed in my seat until the crew came out. When the crew came out, I was like, good job. And I applauded the crew, who had their hands full with this concert, by the way. There were 3 drum kits in Santana's band on set. There were many singers. And at one point, Michael McDonald came out and sang with Santana's band. They sang a Doobie Brothers song together. And his mic went out. And it was coming up to his solo piece. And one of Santana's soloists handed him his mic so he could sing his part. And then the crew was like running like wildfire to get everybody their mics back. And so there was like this huge mic exchange that happened on stage. It was incredible to watch. And I just was like, oh, those poor guys. I know they're doing their best, man. But it was wonderful to watch the artists take care of each other as well on stage. Um, because the Doobie Brothers and Santana, they're all legends and wonderful. And Michael McDonald, he has some notes, man. I could not believe the notes that were coming out of that man's mouth. Um, After all these years, right? It was wonderful. It was wonderful. And his playing, he played the piano brilliant. He played, I think it was a mandolin. Yeah, it was a mandolin. He played the mandolin at one point. Beautiful. The guitar work, amazing. The drumming, oh, the bass guitar. They gave, Santana gave his guys all solo times, which was just wonderful. Um, and the bassist was playing his in the middle of his solo. All of a sudden, he started playing "While My Guitar Gently Weeps" on his bass. It was incredible. Anyway, I could go on and on and on and on and on, obviously. But I sat there until the crew came out to start striking and taking down the drum kits and putting everything back in its road box and getting ready to go to the next gig, right? And then I met Barbie down. She had gone off in one direction and I went down the other direction, and we had a place where we were meeting, and I stood there and I was waiting for her, and another woman came over and she was looking, and she was like, "Oh, he's never where he did." She just like, "He's never where I tell him to go. He never listens to me." And I said, "What did you say to him?" And so she said, "I told him to meet me right here under the M of the merch shop," which is what Barbie and I had decided to do, right? And I said, "Well, where were you sitting? Because if you were sitting in row like URRSTUV," I said, "you could see the merch sign. But when you came down like 10 steps, it goes away and you have a choice to make. And so many people were going in another direction, which takes you off to the bathrooms. And if you go down these stairs, it takes you to the merch shop. But if you don't know that, you're headed off in the wrong direction." And I said, "And you're following everybody, right? Because of the herd mentality that we all seem to have in this world." And she's like, "Oh, that's true. That's true." And then we started talking about the concert. We started talking about the music. We started talking about what he said. And she said, "Oh, I wish this world would be." And we started having a really good philosophical and faith filled conversation. And she said, "How do you know so much about this stuff?" And I said, "Well, I am a pastor." And she went, "Oh my goodness." And she's like, "I just love that. I love that you're here. I love that you're." And so we had this conversation, and then finally, Barbie and I found each other, and I called to her, and I was like, "Babs," and she was like, "Babsy." And Barbie, and this woman said, "Okay, I'm going to go find my friend." And she gave me this big hug. She's like, "What a blessing. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful night." And she runs off. And Barbie goes, "Who's that?" And I said, "I don't know. She just struck up a good conversation with me." It was wonderful. That was the kind of evening. And had I run away to my car in order to beat traffic, I would have missed it. I would have missed the last 20 minutes of Santana playing live for me and for the thousands of people that were there. What pulls you away from those blessed moments of creativity and magic? And if you can stop yourself, would you? Because I think it's pretty important that we start slowing down a little bit in this life. So, slowing down, what do I mean by that? I mean, literally taking a moment and saying, "Do I need to run out the door right now? Or can I spend this extra 5 minutes enjoying my family, enjoying my dog, petting my dog, relaxing before I hit the ground running?" Slowing down your thought process to say, is it more important to leave sooner so that I miss traffic, or should I just stay to the end of this and enjoy every single moment? What is so pressing at 10:30 at night than an extra 5 minutes of wonder, 20 minutes of wonder? It was 20 minutes when people started leaving. How is that not more valuable than time in the car? So that's the big example. A smaller example was again yesterday. So I stayed at my friend Barbie's house overnight. Obviously, we got home after the concert and went to bed about midnight. And then the next day we got up, and We went out to lunch with her mom, which was just a joy. And then we went to see Toy Story 5, and that was delightful. And by the time we got out of Toy Story, it was rush hour traffic. And I have to take like a big freeway home. So 495, I have to take here in Massachusetts. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But I knew that at that moment, the freeway was just going to be backed up with end of day traffic, right? It was a Tuesday. So obviously rush hour traffic time. And I just looked at Barbie and I said, I don't, if you don't need me to go, I would like to stay for a couple extra hours until rush hour's over. And she was like, absolutely. So we just stayed and we chatted and we enjoyed some more time together. And it was wonderful. And then I got on the road and there was no traffic. And it was wonderful. And I got home in time for family prayer. And it was wonderful. All because I chose to slow my roll, to breathe, and say, you know what? I don't need to run all the time at this life. Sometimes slowing down and taking a moment and taking a breath, seeing all of the wonder and joy and beauty that's around me, and not treating that like it's nothing, but treating that like it's what it is, life. That is life unfolding right in front of you. Enjoying those moments. Slow down. Don't rush off. At the end of a concert, wait until the crew comes on. Give the artist the applause they deserve for a job well done, but not only that, stay and listen and enjoy. So often we cut off our enjoyment to race out the door, thinking we're saving ourselves time or energy or going to get a little bit more sleep, and so we can keep on racing the next day. This is not a race. And if it is, it's a marathon. So slow down a little bit. Pace yourself. Take a moment. And when joy and wonder and magic is happening all around you, in front of you, for your ears, for your eyes, whatever, just stop and appreciate it, because we need to fill up on that stuff, especially artists. We need that creative magic. All right. That's what I have for us today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you next week. I love you. Be blessed. Hey, thank you so much for watching our video. I hope you liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, subscribe. What are you waiting for? All right. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Bye.